Ah, the knight errant himself. Oh, have you been watching from the gallery, Mr. Sholmes? I've been on the edge of my seat the entire time. Courtroom trials are fascinating affairs, as a spectator at least. I'm glad you've been enjoying yourself. I have to ask. What on earth is going on? It makes no sense. What's this professor business all about? He doesn't look like any professor I've ever met before. Who even is he? Of course. You were in Germany already 10 years ago. Yes, the professor. When I discovered he was the one who had been abducted, a sense of foreboding stirred within me. But you knew the monster would come knocking at your door. My heartfelt sympathies. As it turns out, Lord Van Zieks is even more intimately tied to this case than any of us realized, isn't he? Yes, how true. His great friend from university in the dock. And now a waxwork of the killer who took his esteemed brother's life makes an appearance too. I imagine even the shrewd Mr. Reaper failed to foresee that kick in the teeth. An extraordinary move on your part, my dear fellow, to throw that in front of the man. You make it sound deliberate. I can't help feeling that this professor case is really very puzzling. Oh yes, in what particular manner? Oh, excuse me? Well, there's Mr. Drebber, Dr. Scythe, and Lord Van Zieks. It seems that everybody in the trial has a link to the case somehow. Yes, in fact, I alone am not a member of the set. Though that leave me as an empty set, all alone with no intersection to any other. Oh, who's that? Excuse me? Oh. Uh-oh. Dr. Scythe! Dr. Courtney Scythe, née Stevens, good day to you. Hello, Sholmes. That was very shrewd of you. What in particular, pray? You requested the 10-year-old autopsy report from Gregson, didn't you? Why would you assume such a thing? Because Gregson told me. Welp. To think it's been 10 years. 10 years in the laboratory, wielding my scalpel. I smell of nothing but corpses and disinfectant. A policeman on the jury had a lot to say about you as it happens, Dr. Scythe. And I've accused you of being complicit in what happened. And I'm hoping that you'll take the stand and tell the truth about what really happened. That certainly won't be possible. Huh? Lord Van Zieks won't be summoning me as a witness. Lord Strongheart has forbidden it. Lord Strongheart? The Pandora's box you were warned about is the Professor case. But please don't make the mistake of thinking you'll get any information about it out of me. But attempting to hide from the truth, that's cowardice. I've always fought crime in the way that I see fit. I have no regrets, none at all. And that's all I came here to say. She did it to fight criminals? So, good day to you. She mentioned it too, this Pandora's box. Whatever does it all mean? There's really no cause for concern, I assure you, when the trial resumes. The meaning will become all too apparent whether you'd like it or... you'd like it to or not. Well, this doesn't solve any of my worries. Huh? Now then, I believe it's almost time. I must make my way back to the public gallery. The edge of my seat awaits. Wait, 45 minutes is over already? I think maybe you're enjoying yourself a little too much. Ah yes, one word of warning before I go. If in the course of the trial this afternoon you perceive even a shadow of doubt about the truth, don't let it out of your sight. Pursue it like a dog with a bone. Huh? To the bitter end, you understand? Do not falter, whatever may come to pass. Alright, I understand, thank you. What does Sholmes know? And why doesn't he want to tell us? Good, I shall make myself scarce then. I purchased a bar of caramel earlier, so I shall be gnawing on it, gnawing on that as you gnaw away at the truth. Okay. Is this relevant? Is this relevant to the case? What did that warning from Mr. Sholmes really mean, I wonder? Especially the bit about whatever may come to pass. It's time for the final chapter then. I'm determined to find the truth, no matter what.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready?
The prosecution is ready, my lord. Yes, my lord. The defense is also ready.
As the court is aware, the case under our scrutiny began with a damaging incident at a great exhibition, yet we now find ourselves embroiled in the details of a convicted felon who was sent to the gallows a decade ago. This trial has certainly defied all expectation.
It seems to be the fate of all trials in which this Nipponese is involved, my lord.
So then...
They just completely ignored him?
Let us begin our exploration of the defense's assertion that the waxwork was cardinally involved. Lord Van Zieks?
My lord?
Are we still awaiting the arrival of Madame Terspels?
Not at all. She is in the antechamber as we speak, and ready to be summoned.
Very well, bring in the witness.
At once, my lord. Bailiff, show Madame Terspels to the stand. Things are about to become a lot more intense. If Driver is responsible, as I'm sure he is, it means he must have had an accomplice in Dr. Scythe. And what connects the pair of them is the waxwork. As always, Susato can read my mind. Yes, the model of the professor. That's the key to the link between these otherwise unrelated individuals. It's a tenuous link, admittedly, but at present it's all we have to go on. Oh wow, was that Sholmes? State your name and occupation for the court, please. My name is Madame Esmeralda Terspels. I am a waxwork artisan and the proprietress of the Madame Terspels Museum of Waxwork. You will have to pardon me for walking as I testify. My new exhibit must open very soon. Oh, so he finally gets a statue, does he? Now there are two of them in the world. Oh my, what expression is she carving onto that face? A number of days ago, a particular waxwork model was stolen from your museum. Can you confirm this? Oui, that is true. At first... Oh, maybe I should give her a French accent. At first, we believed it had been kidnapped.
A waxwork model kidnapped?
Yes, my lord. There was a demand for ransom money left behind by the culprit. However, according to what I have just been told outside the courtroom, that was not a true reason. I understand it was utilized as a substitute for the body of a murder victim. At present, that is no more than conjecture proposed by the defense. This is the victim of the case in question, Mr. Odie Asman. But of course, I know him well. He is part of my odious personnage exhibit. I detest to say what is evident, but Mr. Asman does not resemble the professor at all. Okay. Yes, but perhaps their faces are very similar. Are you suggesting that we should see now the demasked visage of the professor? I have here the key, but it is strictly forbidden to open the lock. This is absurd. Pardon? I don't know what face you've carved onto your fancy figure beneath that mask. But clearly it won't be that of the actual killer.
Indeed. The man's identity was never made public after all.
The trial took place in a closed court. The proceedings were strictly confidential. The condemned man was summarily executed. His identity remains a closely guarded national secret. There's no possible way that a repository of tawdry exhibits could get its hands on that information. Quel dommage! It would seem you are unaware of the Tasper's principles.
What principles?
The family Taspers has always prided itself on sculpting its models à la perfection. Every detail, including the visage, is fashioned with complete fidelity, et voilà our principles. There's a well-known legend about the Taspers waxwork from the time of the French Revolution. A member of the Taspers family is said to have made a waxwork of the queen, who was executed. Oui, that is true. It was a century ago now. I believe the queen's face was carved in the minutes following her death, actually at a guillotine site. You are correct. The model is on display still today in the House of Horrors. We Taspers will stop at nothing to obtain a faithful replica of our subjects.
Dear me, a somewhat disturbing tenacity of purpose.
It is the only way to obtain a truly lifelike representation of the subject. And it has been my family's secret for a generation.
Do you mean to say that beneath that mask?
Oui, the true visage of the killer is there.
This is ludicrous. It's out of the question.
The professor spread terror throughout Great Britain. As a result, the Madame Tasper's special exhibit remains extremely popular even today. The killer emerging from his own grave. It is a sight to behold. You should come.
I think, madame, it would be beneficial to hear your formal testimony on this matter. You will explain every detail of this macabre model and your personal involvement in its creation.
With pleasure. The special exhibit in the House of Horrors is based on a rumor that shocked society in London. An impression of the visage was taken directly from the corpse in accordance with Tasper's family principles. I enlisted the aid of the gravedigger and created a mold for the head in the cemetery just before the interment. I hid myself until he gave me a signal. I was there for a very long time that night. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I could be discovered.
The gravedigger demands sanction this?
Oui, I will do all that is necessary to achieve the true resemblance my family is celebrated for. Nobody else knows, only the gravedigger. What harm did it do, eh?
So you truly saw it? The face of that monster?
Naturally, I was aware at the time that his identity was a secret. But Taspels would not be Taspels if we did not insist on absolute fidelity to our sculptures.
I don't believe this. I myself have seen the special exhibit at your museum, madame. A truly blood-curdling scene in which the murderer is emerging from his own grave.
The scene it depicts was the subject of many rumors in London 10 years ago. I have here a newspaper from the time. The special exhibit was based upon the picture in this article.
Oh my god. This drawing is crazy. And wait, this was drawn by Mr. Asman? That is interesting. That is not a photographic print, is it? It's just a drawing?
It was the most detailed account of what happened as reported by the eyewitness who saw it.
Man rises from the grave. It's too absurd for words.
The public enjoys absurdity, monsieur. That is why I have reproduced the scene as carefully as possible in my museum.
And it's a waxwork from that exhibit that was stolen some days before the incident, wasn't it?
That is correct. The professor you see before you here.
Most puzzling. Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination. This waxwork links Drebber to Dr. Scythe, and there has to be some reason for that, which hasn't yet come to light. But I'll find it. I'll get to the bottom of what really happened. I'll prove that Dr. Scythe and Drebber were in on this crime together.
The special exhibit in the House of Horrors is based on a rumor that shocked society in London. An impression of the visage was taken directly from the corpse in accordance with Taspel's family principles. I enlisted the aid of the gravedigger and created a mold for the head in the cemetery just before the interment. I hid myself until he gave me a signal. I was there for a very long time that night. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I would be discovered.
So that's all I have to go on. What's your feeling, Mr. Naruhodo? For some reason, Dr. Scythe went along with Drebber's plan. Now, if that's really true, then the professor is the only other thing we know of that links the pair of them. So I feel sure that waxwork must be a clue to this mystery somehow.
In that case, we must use this cross-examination to uncover exactly what it means. Otherwise, the jurors are sure to revert their leanings.
I agree, but interestingly, uncovering what the professor has to do with all of this means more to Lord Van Zieks than anyone. That's the impression I'm getting anyway.
Yes, as do I.
After all, he has a profound connection to the professor as well. Yeah, that's true. With the rumor, you mean the fact, or you refer to him being the professor, the corpse of the professor being resurrected, right, from the grave?
Hold it!
And that rumor would be
A 10-year-old tale now, but one that no Londoner would ever forget.
Ah, right. I know just what you're talking about, I think.
Of course it couldn't be anything else.
Oh yes, that story will never disappear.
The tale of the condemned killer rising from the dead. That is the central attraction of my House of Horrors. The rumor was whispered all over the city and was like this. It was in Lowgate Cemetery, behind the prison, in the dead of night after the execution of the killer. The interred professor slid back the stone slab, covering his tomb, and emerged from his grave. A young man who witnessed this felt a scream welling up inside him. But an instant later, he heard an ear-splitting gunshot from over his shoulder. The bullet struck the emerging corpse, and he fell motionless once more. Wait, a gun? That's the first time I'm hearing of a gun. The scream finally found its way from the mouth of the young witness, who turned and ran for his life. The corpse climbed out of his own grave? And then somebody shot him? Who was it? Nobody knows, even today. But remember, it was just a rumor, perhaps nothing more than a ghost story. The good people of London, they love stories like this. That is why it was in every newspaper across the capital. But was it just a story? Well, why not ask Trevor? I mean, this is exactly the scene that can be seen today at your museum, isn't it? Oui, the special exhibit was modeled on that very illustration. For a while afterwards, the contents of that article were reproduced in every newspaper imaginable. Madame, might I say something? Please go ahead, mademoiselle. When something is described as a rumor, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's entirely made up. I believe that often rumors contain elements of the truth. Ah, I see that people from the East can be just as astute as the people of Europe. Can we be sure, for instance, that the professor's execution was successful? Well, nevertheless, he's dead now, right? The corpse is still under the grave. It is not possible for the dead to come back to life. Sorry? 10 years ago, I was there in Lowgate Cemetery, after the criminal known as the Professor was killed by hanging. I took a wax impression of his visage from the corpse just before it was interred. So I can assure you, the man was dead. I see.
It would certainly appear that the condemned man suffered the intended fate.
You took an impression of the visage. So he must have been dead, right? I mean, how do you do it, even? Does it work on a live person? Hold it! Is that true of every waxwork in your museum, then? It is, assuming the subject is dead, of course. Live subjects have to cooperate in a similar way. So, okay, you can do it with a live subject. I have letters from imprisoned criminals all the time, you know?
What sort of letters?
When my time comes, please make a waxwork of me, comme ça.
No.
My museum is famous, monsieur. To be made into a waxwork is an honor, and for some criminals a symbol of status even.
Because nothing says hardened criminal better than wax.
And it is thanks to one killer in particular that my museum has gained such popularity in London. I refer to the star of the special exhibit, of course, the Professor. whose form you claim to have captured by taking an impression from the actual corpse. There are no exceptions to the principles of two spells. Maybe he was alive and cooperated, that could be, with the procedure. You created a mold for the head in the cemetery. What does that even mean?
Hold it!
Surely that's illegal, isn't it? Not for me, it isn't. It would seem the proprietress of this repository of novelties was blinded by monetary greed. It had nothing to do with money. The man is part of London's criminal history. That is why I had to sculpt him, to record his history. It is the raison d'etre of the Spells Museum. But if the man was convicted in a closed court and sent for immediate execution, then surely nobody but the members of the judiciary present know the killer's true identity? I assure you, behind that mask is hidden the true face of the professor. Do you realize what you're saying? The professor's identity is a national secret. I understand. And now that the truth about the special exhibit has been revealed, it must perhaps close. Of course it will, as will your entire museum if you don't tread very carefully, madame. That could be another interesting chapter in the history of my family, I think, don't you? Yeah, she'll just emigrate to somewhere else and start a new museum, I guess. So, 10 years ago, on the night of the professor's execution, you took a wax impression of his face from the corpse. Oui, exactement. And the gravedigger was your accomplice in this crime? You were there longer than you expected to be? I had some difficulties in capturing the subject's form correctly. As I removed the mask, the mouth of the cadaver fell open, and I had some problems with the chin. Okay. Dare I ask? The man had been dead for a short while already, you see. So there's no question, like assuming she isn't lying, and why would she lie even? Then the professor was indeed dead. His muscles were relaxing and consequently his chin would not align itself correctly. Oh dear, what a horrible thought. Under normal circumstances, I would have an assistant with me. However, that night I was alone, and as a consequence I missed my preferred window of time. What do you mean? When I take the impression of the visage of the cadaver, I always wait until 3 hours after death. Why 3 hours? Is that amount of time significant? It is because of Rigor Mortis. Rigor Mortis? Come on, you should know that, you know. It's the name given to a phenomenon that occurs in recently deceased bodies. As a rule, 3 hours post-death, the muscles in the body begin to stiffen. By approximately 10 hours post-death, the entire body is completely rigid and inflexible. And then from that point on, the muscles slowly start to revert to their relaxed state. The effect is often used to estimate the time of death when a body is discovered. Well, that was an education, if a slightly scary one. As the mademoiselle says, rigor mortis commences 3 hours after death, and it starts in the jaw. I see, so that's why you wait. Before that time, the mouth falls open and it is very difficult to do my work. It's getting hard for me to do my work with all this talk of corpses. I wonder about that information the courts just heard. Is it significant? I don't know. What are we trying to figure out here? I kinda lost the thread of thought, to be honest. Autopsy report. Time of death 2:20 p.m. What about the other autopsy report? Death by hanging confirmed at midnight. At midnight. So, when did you wait and see? Let's say it's significant, why not? The information about Rigor Mortis that you just shared with us, would you mind including it in your formal testimony? I believe it could be significant, you see. Of course, I do not mind at all. I can't help feeling that after this latest topic, the atmosphere in the courtroom has become extremely grave. Okay, this is no time for jokes, Mr. Sato. Exactly my thought.
Madam, kindly amend your testimony as discussed.
Bien sûr. It took me a very long time because it was before the onset of Rigor Mortis. It was before the onset of Rigor Mortis. Wait, before the onset? Why not after Rigor Mortis? Dawn. It is already dawn. He was dead at midnight, and dawn would be like 6 a.m. maybe. There's like a time discrepancy here, right? 3 hours after Rigor Mortis. Wait, Susato, can you please repeat what you said? Oh, 10 hours post-death. The entire body is completely rigid. 3 hours post-death, they began to stiffen. Okay. But it begins in the chin, so the chin would be this first thing that goes stiff. So 3 hours after midnight should be the point where the chin begins to stiffen. And when did you... When did you start your job? And then dawn approached. Dawn approached? Before the onset of Rigor Mortis. But he died before midnight. How can that be? Or did you need it? Did you need 6 hours to do your work? I'm not sure. I think this is a discrepancy, right?
Objection!